On August 17, 1980, Lindy and Michael Chamberlain were on vacation in Ayers Rock, Australia. A lot has happened in their lives recently, and the two decided to get away from it all. A few days in the Australian outback would help them unwind and enjoy each other's company. That day, Lindy, Michael, and their children, Aiden, Regan, and Azaria, explored the area, climbing the gigantic rock and seeing a truly breathtaking view. This was exactly what the doctor ordered, Lindy thought to herself. That evening, the Chamberlains cooked dinner at the communal barbecue, chatting with other families about their lives and generally enjoying each other's company. But at around 8 p.m., that all changed. Baby Azaria was heard crying in her tent. This isn't out of the ordinary. She usually becomes fussy at this time. She had a long day, and probably was just fighting to stay awake. However, these cries did sound slightly different from how they usually do. Lindy got a weird feeling that Azaria may need something. Maybe the little one was still hungry, or wanted to spend a few more minutes with everyone at the barbecue. Lindy made her way to the tent, but as she did, she saw something small scurrying out of it. It was quick and gone before she knew it. Lindy then remembered Azaria's cries and rushed inside the tent. But to her horror, her baby was gone. In one of the most infamous and heartbreaking cases Australia has ever had would begin. Hello, my name is Joseph Palmer, and today I wanted to talk about the tragic case of Azaria Chamberlain and how her death may be the most infamous in Australian history. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Azaria Chantal Lorraine Chamberlain was born on June 11, 1980, to parents Michael and Lindy Chamberlain. The two had two other boys named Aiden and Regan. From all accounts, the Chamberlains seemed to be pretty average parents, with nothing to arouse suspicion. However, that would soon change on August 17th, when vacationing in Ayers Rock, Australia. Lindy Chamberlain burst out of her tent and made a truly terrifying claim.
The dingo's got my baby!
What?
A dingo's got my baby. Lindy began running up and down the campground, screaming this very line. Of course, at first, the slightly tipsy campgoers began to chuckle, as they thought this strange woman was putting on some sort of comedy act. However, when they saw the utter fear in her voice, the mood quickly changed, and the search for the infant began. They searched and searched throughout the night, but unfortunately there was no sign of Azaria. Here is also when people began to talk. No one has ever heard of a dingo carrying off a child, at least in the campsite. So is that what really happened? Maybe the dingo story was a cover-up to something even more awful. 7 days later, wedged in between a boulder in Ayers Rock, a bloodstained article of clothing was found, and was confirmed to actually belong to Azaria. A coroner was brought in to see if he could tell what may have really happened. Here is some of what he said.
With subsequent loss of police resources and considerable public money, not to mention the added traumas caused to each member of the Chamberlain family. No meaningful liaison appears to exist between the members of the forensic science section and the police officer in the field. From my observations of the operation of this section in this inquiry and other cases in the past, I recommend that consideration be given to it being re-established on a proper forensic scientific basis, with operatives prepared to achieve and maintain the highest standards of efficiency. To you, Pastor and Mrs. Chamberlain, and through you to Aidan and Regan, may I extend my deepest sympathy. You have not only suffered the loss of your beloved child in the most tragic circumstances, but you have all been subjected to months of innuendo, suspicion, and probably the most malicious gossip ever witnessed in this country. I have taken the unusual step of permitting these proceedings to be televised today, in the hope that by direct and accurate communication, such innuendo, suspicions and gossip may finally cease. I doth find that Azaria Chamberlain, a child then of 9 weeks of age and formerly of Mount Isa, Queensland, met her death when attacked by a wild dingo whilst asleep in her family's tent at the top camping area, Ayers Rock, shortly after 8 p.m. on the 17th of August 1980. I further find that in attempting to remove this babe from the tent, the dingo would have caused severe crushing to the base of the skull and neck and lacerations to the throat and neck. Such injuries would have resulted in swift death. I further find that neither the parents of the child nor either of their remaining children were in any degree whatsoever responsible for this death. I find that the name Azaria does not mean and never has meant sacrifice in the wilderness. I find that after her death, the body of Azaria was taken from the possession of the dingo and disposed of by an unknown method by a person or persons name unknown. Did you enter a date to be fixed?
You see, officers over the months didn't believe the Chamberlain's story, and even ignored the evidence to follow their theory that the baby was murdered. News outlets and the public also shared these sentiments, and may have even pushed the officers to plant blame on the family. You would think this story would end here, the tragic case of a family who lost their daughter to a wild dingo. However, that's not what happened. A number of people were dissatisfied with Barrett's findings. Some experts, such as Kenneth Brown, a forensic dentist who had given evidence at the inquest, felt their work had been called into question. Brown sent Azaria's clothing to Professor James Cameron, a British forensic expert, for further examination. His results, together with significant pressure from the Northern Territory government and police, led to the first inquest findings being squashed. The police raided the Chamberlain house, and the rumor mills went into overdrive. Every aspect of the Chamberlain's life became fodder for the next media story. On the 2nd of February 1982, a second inquest found that Lindy should be charged with murder, and Michael as an accessory after the fact. The trial ran from the 13th of September until the 29th of October. Australia watched every moment, captivated outside the courthouse. Stalls were set up selling souvenirs and t-shirts. The prosecution held that Lindy had murdered Azaria and concealed her body in the family's Tarana, and that the couple had later disposed of it. A range of experts presented forensic evidence, Much of it has since been proven to be flawed or incorrect. A spray pattern found under the dashboard of the Chamberlain's car was said to be that of fetal blood, but was actually a sound-deadening compound applied during the car's manufacturing. The Chamberlains had the unwavering support of the other campers presented that evening, and indigenous trackers gave evidence that supported their accounts. Furthermore, senior park rangers testified that dingo attacks on children have occurred in the area months preceding Azaria's death. Nevertheless, the Chamberlains were found guilty. Lindy Chamberlain was sent to Darwin's Barama prison. It was there that Kalia Chamberlain, Michael and Lindy's second daughter, was born in November of 1982. 2 appeals followed the first, heard by the federal court in April of 1983, but it was rejected. The second was lost in the High Court of Australia in February of 1984. The Chamberlain Innocence Committee was formed with the aim of building public support for a new inquiry. A crucial piece of evidence, Azaria's jacket, which police had insisted did not exist, was found 6 years later, after Azaria had been taken, near a dingo den, all but confirming the animal was responsible. Lindy was released from prison in February of 1986. Also in 1986, Trevor Morling headed up a royal commission into the Chamberlains' convictions. The convictions were overturned. However, it still returned an open verdict, despite Morling's finding that the evidence affords considerable support for the view that a dingo may have taken the child. And it wasn't until 2012 when a fourth inquiry found that the cause of Azaria's death was the result of being attacked by a dingo. After the verdict, Michael was quoted as saying, "This battle, to get to the legal truth about what caused Azaria's death, has taken too long. However, I am here to tell you that you can get justice, even when you think that all is lost." Lindy also weighed in, stating no longer will Australia be able to say that dingoes are not dangerous, and only attacked if provoked. We live in a beautiful country, but it is dangerous. This, of course, was a shock to Australians, as they had to come to terms that there may be indeed dangerous animals in their country.
Here's the other one. That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Yeah, that's it. That's the big one.
That's not a knife.
Oh, we could go on. We could go on.
We could go on, and we will go on.
Oh,
I've got 60 more. Look at that kangaroo. Now I'm becoming a Cockney chimney sweep.
that's what I was trying to do.
I don't think you could go on. I think that's it. I think that's
I bet I
Australia's.
could.
That's all.
Look,
the
water's going down the drain the wrong way.
A dingo ate my baby.
A dingo ate my baby.
Hello?
Right, I'm calling all the way from Squatters Crag, Australia, and I want to speak to Dr. Bat Simpson right now.
Hold, please.
All right, but I don't...
Payroll, Bert Stanton speaking.
Oi! I said Bat Simpson. What kind of a company is this?
Bert Simpson's office?
Oh, thank the great good Lord. Look, I was just...
One moment, please.
Who do they think I am? Some stupid Aussie drongo? Bleeding Yanks. I oughta...
This is Bart Simpson. Can I help you, ma'am?
Yeah, hey! My name is Bruno Drundridge, right? You owe me $900, mate.
No, you owe me $900.
You're just some punk kid, aren't you? You picked the wrong guy to tangle with here, mate.
I don't think so. You're all the way in Australia. Hey, I think I hear a dingo eating your baby.
Yeah, well...
Ellen, Have you seen my fiancé?
He's upstairs.
Are you going upstairs? Tell my fiancé I'm looking for him. I have lost my fiancé, the poor baby.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Of course, one of the most famous sayings in the world, or a variation of it, came from this case. And it is worth asking, are we being disrespectful to the memory of Azaria, turning this tragic event into a joke? I'm for free speech, even speech I don't like, so I think it's fine. Besides, it's a fun saying, and I don't think anyone is making fun of the actual event. But I would love to know what you think. Azaria Chamberlain was tragically eaten by a dingo before she could even walk, before she could even talk, and before she could even really live. I truly hope that Azaria and her family were able to find peace in either this life or the hereafter.